So last year I was producing some audio and some video content on the topic known as the flying rod phenomena. And when it was all coming together, when it was all gelling right, I don't think something quite fitted. And not to mention there was a topic on the internet what seemed to explode out of nowhere, as viral things do, of something called SkyFish, a topic that has been discussed at length for about the last 10-15 years or so, but for whatever reason there was an explosion at the time when I was going to produce my video last year. So maybe that's a blessing in disguise, because it allowed me to sit back, take a breath, put it on the shelf for a bit, procrastinate it, and then revisit it in a future time. And I'll explain why these things happen. But SkyFish, flying rod phenomena, for whatever reason, they appear to cross-reference with each other on the internet, which only made it even more confusing. So I knew I needed to come back and revisit it at a later date. So this is my journey. I wanted to explore and talk about the topic known as the flying rod phenomena. Let's take you on my journey to discover more about flying rods, beginning with a series of personal observations of a cylinder-shaped flying rod flying very high close to where I work, which I've recreated here. This happened north in the city of Nottingham in mid-July 2017, exhibiting no form of typical aircraft prerequisites. There's no wings, no tail rudder, no dorsal aft levelling wings, and any identifiable engines that I couldn't see from my perspective. It was science in motion as it glided across the sky, and I remarked in my blog at the time of how it looked a lot like a tic-tac. With my hand outstretched, it was less than the width of my forefinger. And followed this a few days later, I was walking across the forest recreation ground of the city, looking at the sky, thinking about the craft that I had seen previously. And lo and behold, there was another. So later on that same day, near sunset, I'm explaining about the first and second object that I have seen to my close friend Sylvia. And as I'm doing so, I remark about the colour of the sky, and gesturing and talking with my hands as we so often do, as I'm doing right now. It did mean I no longer had to describe the aerial object to the person I was with, as she could now see one for herself. Now timing, it could be considered eerie, but questions were forming in my mind as to where we were, what time of day it was when I saw the former object, and the solution was coming. But when it came to writing up about the flying rods, and writing up about the experiences wrote and photographed by others, I discovered that there's other such phenomena under the same general heading, and it was somewhat challenging to find out and specify which one I was referring to. Now initially, my understanding is that these rods were like cylinders, closely related with these cigar-shaped objects. The voyage home-like flying rods, shall we say, due to their similarity to the unexplained alien probe in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. These are craft with no discernible wings, no tails, no markings. They're variable in size. Some have rocket-like tips, others are kind of flat cut off. Others have bulging bodies around the centre, others do not. But they appear to kind of be very similar. But however, typing in flying rods into a search engine, as I recommend you do after you watch this video, did not bring up the results I expected. Instead, majority of the pages were connections about SkyFish. And I was like, What's SkyFish? This is not what I'm talking about. This is not what I'm saying. So, now SkyFish came to greater public attention thanks to Jose Escamilla. Now he's been shown in a number of documentaries and a number of interviews describing flying rods, or as he calls them, SkyFish, as well as redubbing them for PR purposes and his own website, Roswell Rods, which makes it even more further confusing, claiming that back in 1994 he and his brother had recorded footage of resembling flying fish with sets of wings. They're about 30 centimetres long, that appear to fly through the sky over caves. He even started calling them undulating membranes, making it all sound very scientifical, making it sound like it's something that is perhaps cryptid, a new cryptid waiting to be discovered. However, those with a knowledge of cameras quickly disprove this mystery, followed also by Chinese scientists using nets and video equipment in a documentary, proving that SkyFish, these Roswell rods, these flying rods, turn out to be birds and insects flying with their wings beating faster than the capture rate of a camera. Now, in my first recording of this way back when I was producing this video, that was the topic that had blown up at the time for whatever reason. So I put this on the back burner. But now it's time to revisit, as I said. Now, since noticing these flying rods, I've intentionally kept my camera and indeed my phone with camera apps close by, and continue to take pictures ever since. In particular, as I'm on the north side of the city, We have a high-frequency air corridor here for passenger and cargo aircraft coming out of East Midlands Airport. It's possible here to see dozens of aircraft on a daily basis, different heights and different angles, and this has opened up the knowledge of observing aircraft on a day-to-day basis. That sometimes are on a side view, as they're banking round, you can see them as they turn on their y-axis. Planes also at distance and at height can appear undetailed. Towards sunset and sunrise, they can appear prospectively to be illuminated from underneath, where a trick of the light creates an optical illusion that the wings aren't visible. This satisfies the curiosity that I had and brings me to the conclusion that this can explain a number of the rods that are being observed, particularly if one is unfamiliar. Now, from the images you can see of the shots that I've taken over recent months, they do appear like flying rods, like UFOs, like cigar-shaped objects. And on many, if it wasn't for the contrails, it would indeed appear like a strange UFO and low res because they're at far, far distance. But contrails indeed, of course, play a part into this, because contrails are composed primarily of water in the form of ice crystals, a combination of water vapour, the aircraft engine exhaust, and the low ambient temperatures of the high altitude that the plane is at. It creates these long cloud trails, which of course play into the UFO phenomenon in their own way. But the objects can appear like UFOs, and I think we need to take another look at these. Take a deep breath, as I did, put it back on the shelf, and go, am I really looking at a craft from another side of the galaxy that's come here to look over our planet, or are we actually looking at an airplane that I'm misidentifying? Which is more likely? Now, for now, my name is Kristian Lander. Thank you for taking the time to join me here today. Please take the opportunity to like, dislike, share, or leave a comment. It's a really useful insight to know that I'm producing the kind of content that you would like to watch. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.